Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, the Biden administration has announced they will be selling an additional 20 million barrels of the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That's right, our oil is going to be sold on the global market again. And I can already hear the hit pieces criticizing me for calling this out. The SPR is not supposed to be used to lower gas prices. And that's what Joe Biden is doing. And it's what Democrats claim they're doing. That by releasing this oil into the global market, they will reduce the prices for all Americans. Meanwhile, they're running smear pieces against Donald Trump. You see, there was a big outrage when it turned out that Joe Biden sold off a lot of our oil from the SPR to a bunch of foreign countries, including China. Now, they make some good points. It's an international market, and it just goes to the highest bidder. So it's not like Joe Biden called up Sinopec, the Chinese company, and said, hey, buy this oil, I'm releasing it to you. It's still a massive lapse in judgment from the White House, and it's still arguably illegal to sell off our oil. The SPR is supposed to be for war or crisis or famine. Currently, the media is running a smear piece against Trump saying, you know what? Trump also sold oil to China. And I'll just tackle this right away. Yeah, not during an emergency or crisis. And Donald Trump attempted to replenish the SPR. And guess what? As much as the fact checkers say, no, he didn't. He never did that. What they leave out, or they include at the very bottom, it was Democrats who blocked him from doing so. Now, I have a theory. Why? The White House is dumping the SPR. I don't think it has anything to do with lowering gas prices. And I think it likely has more to do with us being at war with Russia and them trying not to admit it. Russia invades Ukraine. NATO basically comes in and provides all the logistics and weapons and intelligence. Meanwhile, we're hearing there's going to be a big famine. That Ukraine and Russia at war means no food exports. At the same time, they're telling farmers in the Netherlands and the UK and in Ireland to stop farming. And I wonder why that is. Some people say it's the climate agenda. But for me, I'm sorry. I have a hypothesis. I think it's war. In war, you want to conserve your oil. So perhaps the reason they're telling farmers not to farm has nothing to do with climate change and has everything to do with using oil and energy more for the war front. Now, it's not necessarily that they're going to be diverting oil from farms to the war, but that by getting farmers to stop using fuel, that leaves up an excess that can be used in other places. And why is the U.S. selling off all of this oil to the international market? I don't think it's to lower gas prices. I think it's to make its way to Europe so they can have more oil for the war effort. Could be wrong. There's probably a lot of context missing there. But either way, the American people are the ones that are getting screwed by this deal. At a time when we are told there won't be a recession, based on the official definition, there will be. But the Biden administration says, no, there won't be. They're calling it a transition in which we see slower growth. They don't want you to realize we're at war, that it is not Ukraine versus Russia. It is NATO versus Russia, and we're footing the bill. Now, Russia is cutting fuel to Europe, to Germany specifically, down to 20% capacity of the Nord Stream 1 line. Germany is panicking because their economy is going to get hit, and Russia is saying we will cut off the rest unless you end the sanctions. This is what war is. Maybe they should just come out and admit that hardship is a reality of life, but maybe they're worried that if they do, they will lose their elections, and Donald Trump will win, and Trump will shut down the war machine. So, a theory. Perhaps not correct, maybe nothing more than a hypothesis on my end. There's tons of classified information and secret information I got no idea about. So, who knows? But let's read the news. Take a look at the pieces of the puzzle and see what we can come up with. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become a member to support our work. As a member, you'll get access to our exclusive shows like the Timcast IRL Uncensored show, after hours, 11 p.m. Monday through Thursday, as well as the show Tales from the Inverted World. We've also got Cast Castle, which will be launching very soon. That's going to be more of a sitcom, a comedy vlog. It's going to be a vlog, but we're going to add a lot of jokes to it. We're ramping up production. We're taking it to a new level. And we have the latest season of Tales from the Inverted World up right now exclusively as a members-only show on timcast.com. You'll also be supporting all of our amazing journalists, so we really do need the support. If you like the reporting that we do, our journalists are funded by you, the members. That's it. Memberships, they pay for the reporting we do. They pay for videos like this. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Here's the first story from Fox Business. And then I'm really excited because I'm doing the research and I want to just eviscerate the lies about Donald Trump that they're putting out right now. And I love to say it. Please stop making me defend Trump. Now, I'm a fan of his foreign policy, but you don't need to lie all the time, making it so that we have nothing to do but defend the man. Seriously? Yeah, they're lying about him again, as they do. Fox Business reports. The White House announced Tuesday that the Department of Energy will be issuing a notice to sell 20 million more barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve as part of the Biden administration's effort to bring gas prices down. Why? Anyway, this makes the fifth such sale that Biden has authorized. The White House continued to blame disruptions posed by Russia's invasion for the high prices, while claiming that the Biden administration's actions are making a tremendous difference. Quote, in fact, the Department of the Treasury estimates that as a result of these drawdowns, both domestically and internationally, the price at the pump of Americans is up to about the price at the pump for Americans is up to about 40 cents per gallon lower than it otherwise would have been, the White House said in an announcement. While gas prices are down significantly since a recent national average price of more than $5 per gallon in June, the average as of Tuesday was still $4.32 compared to $3.15 from 1 year ago, and approximately $2.39 when Biden first took office. It's incredible. Republicans slammed the White House after previous sales from the Petroleum Reserve, after it was made known that millions of barrels were being sent to European and Asian countries, including China. The American people deserve answers as to why our emergency energy reserves are being sent to foreign adversaries like the Chinese Communist Party, compromising our energy security and national security. I love it. What do they say? They say, it is fake news, writes Glenn Kessler over at the Washington Post. When oil is sold on the international market, it legally must go to the highest bidder. So it's not that Biden is just selling off the oil to China. It's that he's selling off the oil and China happened to buy it. Okay, I'm still wondering why they are selling off our emergency reserves. I don't think they care about this country, my friends. That's why they're doing it. The White House also announced that the Department of Energy is proposing a rule change regarding how the federal government acquires oil for the SPR. The new rule, if adopted, would permit fixed price contracts as well as indexed price contracts. The current rule requires purchase prices to be set by a price index, with the price paid being based on market prices at the time of delivery. The proposal, if finalized as proposed, would encourage near-term production, promote market stability, and put the federal government in a better position to respond to future market volatility. That's what the White House said. Well, we have the official energy.gov statement here. DOE issues fifth emergency notice of sale of crude oil from the SPR. Great. The Democrats say it's helping. Market Watch reports Biden administration says releases of oil reserves cut gasoline prices by up to 40 cents per gallon. I don't believe it. I really, really don't. I don't think the reason they're dumping this oil is because they're trying to lower prices. I think they're trying to make sure that European countries can get oil amid Russia cutting them off, amid the war. I mean, that's the big news right now, simply put. Russia to cut gas through Nord Stream 1 to 20% of capacity. So there's a war going on. Europe needs fuel. They're cutting gas. The U.S. announces we're going to be selling off some of our reserves, and a large portion, millions of barrels, goes to Europe. About 1 million went to China because China bid on it, but a large portion went to Europe. I believe that's probably the real reason it's happening. Now, over at the New York Post, House Republicans want answers about oil sale to Hunter Biden-linked China company. This was the big news. People wondering why Unipec, a.k.a. Sinopec, was getting this oil. They say Rep. James Comer, top GOP member on the panel, and 18 of his colleagues are questioning why the Department of Energy exported 900,000 barrels of oil to Unipec America, a subsidiary of Sinopec. The decision to sell to Unipec raises questions about why the Biden admin is selling oil from the SPR to China, especially when the sale may enrich Hunter Biden, the president's son, the letter says. All of which is true. Washington Post counters, as I mentioned, saying They didn't choose to do it. It's that when they announce the sale, the highest bidder gets it. Legally, that's how it must be done. The question then is, why is Biden selling off our oil, period? The first concern that we had was that our SPR was being drained by the Biden administration. This is not what it's for. Gas prices are high and Biden is hurting in the polls, so they want to lower gas prices. This is what they're saying. They're saying, hey, we did it, everybody. We lowered gas prices by dumping off our emergency reserves. It is not for when gas is high and you are hurting politically. It's for like when you have no choice and there's a war. Now, I suppose the argument is COVID caused problems or the war with Russia caused problems. We ain't involved in that, right? Oh, I'm sorry. We are. Yeah, we're not supposed to be, but we know the war with Russia is basically NATO versus Russia. Russia's been saying it and calling it World War III from some time. But now, let's call out the lies. This infuriates me. Scoop. GOP's oil reserve amnesia. Sophia Kai writes on July 19th, 2022. The Trump administration sold oil from the U.S. strategic reserves to China's largest oil producer in 2017, according to government data reviewed by Axios. Oh no! The scandal of a century! How could Donald Trump also sell oil from the SPR? There's a lot of questions. A lot of questions they don't include in this piece. I'm not going to bury the lead. There was no emergency in 2017. We're in a supply chain crunch. We have record high gas prices. Now is not the time to be depleting our emergency reserves. To lower the gas prices? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if the supply chain is being disrupted, you want to either retain that oil for our use, figure out how to best use the sour crude they complained about, saying it was better suited to go to Europe anyway to offset what Russia, it's high in sulfur, they're saying. Russia's sales are depleted, so we're going to replace it. No. If the law is that we have to sell on the international market, then we should change the law. We should use the oil that we need. That's not the way the game is played. They say documents show, like the current administration, the Trump admin also sold to the highest competitive non-sanctioned bidders, including Chinese companies, as is required by law. I will fully concede that point, that the reason China was able to buy it was because they bid the highest, and that's the way the system works. Okay, I'm not going to come down on Democrats or Republicans. I'm going to say I will accept that one. When the story first came out, I was questioning why that was the case. We have an answer. I accept it. Fine. But the first question was always was, why are we depleting the SPR? Now, the question's here. Why was Donald Trump selling from the SPR at the time? I'd love to know. They say, they say their hypocrisy. Slamming the Biden administration for doing exactly what the Trump administration also did isn't surprising. But it reveals just how eager they are to use lies to attack the president, said Ian Sims, a spokesman in the White House counsel's office. No, there wasn't. At the time Donald Trump did this, what were we really worried about? So nobody was sweating when the SPR sold off 500,000 barrels and it went partially to China. Now we have a crisis, and I think it makes more sense. To be fair, though, I think there is a morsel of a fair point. Sure, Trump did sell and it went to the highest bidder. That's the important info everyone needs to understand. Oil is sold to the highest bidder. China was able to get some. So maybe we can still ask questions about Hunter Biden's involvement in Sinopec and why Biden is selling off our oil. And I think there's something deeper there. But let's call out the manipulation here. Here we go. March 19th, 2020. So you want to talk about the crises and all that stuff. You want to talk about right now when we probably need to keep our oil, Biden selling it, and then criticize Trump for when we weren't in a major emergency, him selling it off. Energy.gov says Department of Energy executes on direction of President Trump, announces solicitation to purchase crude for the SPR to provide relief to American energy industry March 19th, 2020. Whoa. You mean when oil was at a serious low, I don't want to say all-time low, but very, very low in price, Donald Trump, he called for the purchase to the maximum capacity of the SPR, 77 million barrels. The DOE announced a solicitation for the purchase of an initial 30 million barrels to begin filling the SPR. Solicitations for additional purchases will follow. Wow. So Trump wasn't depleting our reserves. He was filling our reserves. Well, okay there. Wait. Hold on. Fact check, everybody. I did a simple Google search for this, and I was trying to read the news. Donald Trump was selling off about 500,000 barrels that I believe, I don't know if the entirety went to China. And the question is, okay, why? Well, the reality is a couple years later, he tried to refill the reserves and verify this as no. U.S. oil reserves weren't 100% full during Trump's presidency, as he claimed. Former President Donald Trump claimed he built up the U.S. oil reserves from the virtually empty to 100% during his time in office. That isn't true. Oh, yeah. Trump lied. You see, he had tried to buy the oil. They say this. President Joe Biden announced on March 31st, the U.S. will release 1 million barrels of oil. This we get. In response to the Biden administration's decision, the former President Trump claimed in a statement that he built up the country's oil reserves during his administration to 100% full. He also claimed that U.S. oil reserves had been virtually empty for 50 years. Did former President Trump build up U.S. reserves? That's the question. The answer, false. Yeah, we got him. We got you, Trump, you liar. No, former President Donald Trump did not build up U.S. oil reserves to 100% during his presidency. Aha! They then go on to say the SPR was created in December 1975 when former President Gerald Ford signed the Energy Policy and Conservation Act into law. It meant it to counter disruption in commercial oil supplies that would threaten the U.S. economy following an energy crisis that began in 1973, according to the U.S. Department of Energy, blah, 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 blah. Oh, because they just want to bury it. Wait till you see why the answer is no, Trump didn't do this. They go on to say the SPR was about 95% full when Trump took office. Hey, fair point. Trump was wrong. It wasn't virtually empty, and he didn't fill it up. But hey, let's not play this stupid game where we're like, aha, Trump was to blame the whole time. They say by the end of December 2017, the SPR had about 663.7 million barrels of oil. The SPR inventory was about 638.1 when Biden was taking office. In March 2020, Trump did propose purchasing 77 million barrels of oil in order to fill the SPR to its maximum capacity, according to the DOE. But congressional Democrats blocked the measure, calling it an estimated $3 billion bailout for big oil. Okay, so Trump is wrong when he says it was virtually empty and he filled it up. But the Democrats were the ones who blocked it when he did try to fill it up. I'm not here to pretend that Donald Trump is always right, always perfect, or doesn't lie. No, I've talked about how he says nonsense and lies a lot. Most of the time, however, he's just wrong. Saying he's lying implies he knows every detail about what he's working on. And I'll tell you this. You can't simultaneously claim Donald Trump is a bumbling dotard who has no idea what's going on and that he's also completely cognizant of every detail ever, so he therefore must be lying. No, I think Trump lies. I do. I think Trump wants to come out and he wants to talk about how he's done everything so well, and this may be an example of that. You know, they were virtually empty. We filled them up. They weren't virtually empty, and you tried to fill them up. How about this, Trump? How about you just say, when we tried filling up the reserves, it was blocked by Democrats who called it a bailout for big oil. And now Joe Biden is depleting our reserves. Why? Biden has said he's going to get us off fossil fuels. Surprise, surprise, he's doing it. From Real Clear Energy, Mark Roback writes, no, President Biden, releasing petroleum reserves isn't bringing down gas prices. Well, that's strange. They just said it was by 40 cents. Okay, well, this is the opinion of one guy. What does he say? He says, it seems that instead of utilizing the vast wealth, energy resources our country has to offer, the administration is bent on using ineffective approaches that won't have a durable impact on the cost of energy. Recently, Secretary Granholm visited the Bio-Choctaw Strategic Petroleum Reserve in Louisiana ahead of additional oil releases. Despite the daily releases of 1 million barrels of oil per day, some estimates indicate gas prices could still reach an average of $6 per gallon nationwide this summer. As much as President Biden deflects blame, his policies make the problem worse. The solution requires the president to reverse his assault on fossil fuels and commit to concrete long-term solutions, promoting investment in domestic energy production. But hold on. This article is from before the Market Watch article. Market Watch wrote on July 26, Biden admin says the release of oil cuts gasoline prices by 40%. By 40 cents, sorry. And this article saying it wasn't going to work comes from June 30th. Entirely possible. This writer for Real Clear Energy was wrong. What I don't think is wrong, though, and again, I don't want people to confuse the dates and make it seem like this proves the other. No. Like the Biden administration is claiming that. Others have said that it won't do that. So then there must be another factor at play. Or perhaps Biden is right. And dumping our oil from the SPR is bringing down gas prices. Sure, fine, whatever. That's still not what it's for. Well, depending on who you ask, therein lies the big problem. Verify This is going to claim, well, no, the SPR is supposed to be for economic crises during shortages and things like that. Yeah, during a war in Europe and a supply chain crunch? Or should we keep this oil to use for ourselves? There is a problem, regardless of who is in charge, if the SPR is being released and it's going to the international market instead of us. That, I think, is a no-brainer. Now, it's going to get bad across the board. And I think it'll get bad for the rest of us because Europe is getting hit, and it's likely that they're going to want oil. So Joe Biden is going to try and sell off more and more and more. The Guardian reports Eurozone crisis in reverse as southern states scold Germany over gas. Southern Europe countries were unwilling to sign up to homogenous 15% cut in gas. Oh, it's coming, baby. I already showed you that Russia is going to cut gas through Nord Stream 1 to 20% of capacity. The AP reports Russian energy giant Gazprom said Monday that it would further reduce natural gas flows through a major pipeline to Europe to 20% of capacity, citing equipment repairs. The move ramps up fears that Russia may cut off gas as political leverage over the war in Ukraine, just as Europe tries to shore up storage for winter. That's why they may be doing it. Now, why would Russia not just cut them off? Strategic, I suppose. They're still getting money for it, and they use that money to fund their war as well. Things are not so simple. Now, many of you may argue that because of the war, that is the main reason gas prices are going up. I'm going to pause you right there and say gas prices had already gone up dramatically before the war, and Joe Biden has vowed to get the U.S. off fossil fuels. So when Joe Biden starts selling off our reserves, I don't believe it's because he's trying to reduce reduce gas prices. I think it's because he's trying to get rid of gas, and that's where we're headed. This is all just beneficial to that agenda. Now, maybe Biden's just lying about it, actually. Maybe he's just saying that because he wants to get Democrat votes, and that's also I think it's a possibility. Bloomberg reports Germany's hopes of avoiding a recession are shrinking by the day. IMF predicts slowest G7 growth as inflation and energy weigh. Banks say downturn has begun and will last into 2023. Well, here we go, man. EU agrees to watered down gas rationing plan after early resistance. I wonder what's really going on with oil. I don't know. I'm not a psychic. I can't tell you. I can't read confidential information. I could be wrong about everything. Everybody's going to make their arguments. Fair point. Republicans will be like, why is Joe Biden selling oil to China? The media will be like, it's because it's going to the highest bidder. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's actually an explanation, right? It's not intentionally going to China. It's just the way the system works. Why is Joe Biden releasing the oil anyway? Because gas prices are too high. Okay. Bringing it down 40 cents by rapidly depleting our SPR doesn't sound like it's a smart thing to do. It's not going to help anybody in the long term because the supply chain is still disrupted. All he's doing is depleting our oil and sending it to Europe, which says to me, maybe it has more to do with this. Selling the oil he knows will go to Europe. Hey, it could be good business. Let's be real, to Biden's credit. Maybe he knows he's got the EU by the balls. That the EU is like, yo, we got no gas. Gas is super expensive. And Biden goes, I got some gas. You want to buy it? Highest bidder. And so we're taking a clean cut in the profits, huh? Maybe. Maybe then with that money, he buys in cheaper or something like that. I don't know. At any rate, we're not getting clear answers as to what the point is. And if the point really is to lower domestic gas prices, it's short-term gains, long-term losses, and it puts us at risk. Just not a good idea. Overall, not a good idea. Act of desperation. Look, I can give credit to Joe Biden, if this is true, that he's trying to simmer down the crisis that is the economy. Credit if that's the case. I don't want regular people suffering at the gas pump. And maybe Joe Biden is really trying to solve that problem. Maybe we really are seeing something work here. I don't believe it. I don't trust Biden. I think he's crooked. I think he's corrupt. I think the Ukraine quid pro quo proves that Biden is corrupt and has gotten away with so much. So I just won't give him the benefit of the doubt. I look at this and say, I don't trust this man. And I see the oil going to Europe at a time when Europe is cut off from fuel. And I'm like, makes more sense. That's why he's doing it. Not that he's trying to just sell off to China or anything like that. But there was this story as well. There's a couple other stories. Politico writes, police fire on Dutch farmers protesting environmental rules. Farmers have blocked supermarkets, distribution centers, and roads in response to government plans to cut nitrogen emissions. Maybe what they're really trying to do is preserve fuel. Maybe they're saying, we found areas to cut down. Farms require tons of fuel and fertilizer. We're going to have to grin and bear it. Now, here's the reality. I don't know about the Netherlands, but I know in the United States, we eat too much food. Americans are fat. So if you've got people who are obese and you're looking to shore up some resources, you can say, we're going to stop buying so much food because y'all eat too much as it is. That's the first place to cut. You'll be fine. You'll survive. In fact, you'll probably be better off. It got me thinking. Maybe everything is just part of this. We know the U.S. intelligence is the U.S. is providing intelligence to Ukraine to take out. They took out the Russian flagship. We know the U.S. has been training. We know the U.S. has troops out. We have I believe special forces maybe in Ukraine or at least in Poland. We know that veterans are doing this international volunteer force and they're operating in Ukraine and fighting against Russia. Russia claims they're at war with NATO. NATO is providing weapons to Ukraine. What's the difference? Even if the U.S. was directly involved and we had an American pilot flying a plane with a Ukrainian flag, how is Russia going to know unless they capture someone? And then if they do, the person flying might just be like, I'm a volunteer. I'm just volunteering. Yeah, come on, man. This is what war does. And this is what war looks like. So it's no surprise we're seeing all of this. Fog of war, propaganda, intentional manipulation. Perhaps that's what we're witnessing. Perhaps there's political and domestic warfare at play as well. The Republicans, in the initial reporting, it was missed. The idea that Sinopec just bid on the oil, and that's why they got it. I accept that. Absolutely. And it's because I've read about that in the past, and I did not know it applied to the SPR in this way, but that's what happened. Okay. My question is still, why sell off our strategic reserves? If the supply chain is really being disrupted, shouldn't we, have like an emergency provision and distribute the oil amongst ourselves? Oh, maybe it's because that's the way the system has to work. We have to sell the oil to foreign countries. That makes no sense. What am I going to do with $5 or €5? Is that going to help me in any way? No. The oil, well, that will drive tractors. Converted to fuels, can be used for petrochemicals and other things the U.S. might need during a supply chain crunch. Not only that, Joe Biden could be restoring gas leases and paving the way for oil companies to start ramping up production. Instead, Joe Biden said he's going to get us off of fossil fuels. Yeah, so when the gas prices go through the roof, sorry, I don't believe Joe Biden. And here's the more nefarious view, the more malicious view, I suppose, on their part. If the gas prices are escalating because Biden's policies, and I think they play a role, then he uses those rising gas prices as an excuse to deplete our strategic reserve. It's just like, you're the reason behind the rising gas prices. Before Putin invaded Russia, prices were going up. Then you say, oh no, prices are so high. I got to get rid of our strategic oil. So it's your fault. Now you're giving our oil away? Man, it just does not sound legitimate at all. It sounds intentional. Visual Capitalist has 3 reasons for the fertilizer and food shortage. Okay, what are the 3 reasons? The top exporters of fertilizer happens to be Russia. You see, I feel like all of this comes in and plays a big role. Maybe the Netherlands are saying you got to stop farming because they know we're not going to have the fuel for this. It could be that simple. The farmers are going to use a lot of fuel. They want to restrict how much of that fuel gets used, and there you go. Export value in billions. Looks like Russia is the biggest exporter of fertilizer. They're the top exporter of soil additives containing nitrogen, as well as those with phosphorus and potassium. The United States, export value $4.1 billion. Crazy, man. Top grain exporters. The U.S., look at that, we're big. And then Russia and Ukraine right there with 87 million tons. The U.S. with 93 million. I think we'll be fat and happy, but some of these other Middle Eastern and North African countries are going to be hurting. Recent food shortages. Chili pepper in, looks like Mexico. Out of stock, severe weather or drought. Mustard is, I'm sorry, these are the region they come from. France and Canada. Really? Or is that France and Canada? Yep, extreme weather. Apples. No, apples. Well, I don't like apples anyway. Grapes, shortages. Wheat, shortages. Coffee, shortages. Out of stock. Crazy. It's getting crazy, man. Now look, everybody wants to point the finger at the other side and point the blame. I would say this. Donald Trump, I think, has a corruption of himself. It's not the same corruption that we see in D.C. What I see with Donald Trump is that he cares about this country. I really do believe that. But I also think he cares about his ego, and that's what I refer to a corruption of himself. I think Donald Trump wants to be praised. He wants everyone to know he's doing right, and he's got that ego. But I think he did good foreign policy, which makes him one of the best presidents of my generation or of all time. The North Korea thing, I've talked about quite a bit. It's amazing. The economy was doing well. Trump's far from perfect. He tried having the G7 at his own golf resort. I think that's corruption. I think that's him trying to benefit himself. And he goes, no, but we're giving him a discount. I don't care. You're still covering the costs of your business. Don't like it. The State Department was advertising Trump golf resorts. Get out of here with that stuff. Look, I will call out Trump for doing things that are bad. But his foreign policy, man, was fantastic. The economy was doing well. Joe Biden, if he's trying to bring down gas prices, I'll give him credit. But that's not what I've seen from the Democrats or the Biden administration. What I've seen is quid pro quo in Ukraine, and they lie about it. And the media lies about Trump all day, every day, putting the sins of Biden onto Trump. When Trump tried investigating Biden's quid pro quo, they called it Trump's quid pro quo and impeached him. So forgive me if I don't believe a word out of the media when they're like, yeah, well, Trump sold oil to China. Yeah, and it wasn't an emergency. They're different circumstances. Well, get out of here. Trump, did he actually refill the SPR? No, it's false. Well, it was Democrats who blocked him. Get out of here. Yo, I do not trust the media and the establishment one bit. So no benefit of the doubt. You want me to call out Trump? I will do so. No problem. But you expect me to believe Biden? Never going to happen. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.